Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the first Seidat stream. This is the first English stream we do. And welcome everyone on board. We have plenty of people on board. So I'm going to go through within the next hour, roughly, these 4 topics. We're going to go through the best practices for utilizing Seidat while presenting. So that's different ways of when you do sales, when you do company presentation, when you do trade fairs, when you do onboarding, everything. Seidat can be used in different environments. Sorry. Then we're gonna go through the presentation editing, management, and presenting, and that includes using the tool, editing the slides. We're not gonna go through the team management today. That's another topic, and that's something that some of you might need to do, manage the team, but that's for another time. Then we have some time at the end for questions. You're more than welcome to post any questions during the webinar, so I'll try to answer them while the webinar is going or at the end if it's more suitable time. But let's get going. Quick introduction to who I am. I'm the production manager at Seidat. I run a lot of the projects we do here. So we do presentations for numerous kind of companies in any field, and we help the onboarding process of Seidat. I'm a copywriter in those projects usually, and recently been promoted, or how do you call it, to a partner. I'm hungry to learn, and I'm always happy to help you with any Seidat related questions, as well as any presentation related questions. And our whole team is here to help with the onboarding, presentation building, and so forth. So don't hesitate to ask with any Seidat or presentation related questions from us. There's my contact info if you want to approach me afterwards. Few things about the seminar. Like I said, this is the first training webinar in English. We've done the first one a few weeks ago in Finnish. The feedback's been good. We hope to do these more often. And you can ask questions in the webinar chat. And then, sorry, my screen was stuck in the wrong, you could only see me. But yeah, you can ask questions in webinar chat. We'll try to answer them directly or at the end of the webinar. During the training, you're more than welcome to test what you learn, and feel free to follow what I show on the screen if that's more your learning experience and how you learn. After the webinar, we're gonna send a short survey to each attendee. We highly appreciate if you can answer that, and it will help us improve our webinars in the future and provide more better content to you guys. You can also find the link to this material in the webinar survey email that's going to be sent to you after the webinar. There's the first question: do you have a Chinese training later? Unfortunately, we don't have any Chinese staff, and currently we don't provide any support in Chinese, but we're more than happy to help you in English or in a few other languages as Russian, Swedish, and Finnish. And quick introduction to Seidat, what Seidat is. Most of you probably have already used Seidat quite a lot and have gotten some experience. Some of you might be more experienced than others, but the Seidat idea is that we have one platform where you can have the whole life cycle of slide decks, which means that usually with many tools you can create and present quite easily, but it often, that's the easiest part, and then sharing, analyzing is either hard or impossible. But with sharing in Seidat, you can just create a link or do a direct share to anyone anywhere in the world. The recipient doesn't have to download anything or install anything, so it's quite easy for the presenter and for the receiver. Today we're not going to go through analyzing the presentation use in depth, but quickly I can tell you that in Seidat you can have your Google Analytics attached to the team you're using, and what that means that you can in example, you can send a link to someone, either it be sales presentation or offer or training material or something. You can send that link and then follow how the link is being used, from where some traffic is coming, who's and how many times have been viewed it, what pages, how long, so on and so on. If you're familiar with Google Analytics, you can think of Seidat presentation as a website and you can follow the path. We use different tools to further improve, make it more readable. The analytics we've done, we use Lead Feeder, but you can use Google Data Studio or something you're familiar with. Then the last step in this whole slide and presentation management is the management itself. You can manage both the team quite easily and the presentation itself. If you have going and coming people from your team, you can, when they leave your company, for example, you can remove them from the team and they have no longer access to any of the material. And then when someone new comes or your team grows bigger, you can just invite them to the team and they have immediately access to every presentation you have in the team, unless it's hidden from them. Typical use cases for presentations in general, but especially Seidat presentations, is that number one, Seidat use is in sales. A lot of companies do sales decks with Seidat and especially the sharing possibilities and analyzing help with sales. But we see a lot of company material, group material, training material like now here. Then we use Seidat for documentation our stuff ourselves. A lot of our customers and users use Seidat for documentation as well. You can use Seidat presentation, the same one you use in sales, for marketing purposes and so on. So it's quite versatile where you can use it. It's not for every use, but the use cases are quite wide. Then, like different presenting needs, different presenting use cases might be that you're in a meeting or trade fair or training session where you're in the same room, on the same premise as the viewer. That's the most common way to use any presentation nowadays, but we're seeing quite large shift, at least here in the Finnish market, to have more online meetings. I think that's because people are more busy than before, and spending time traveling from your customers to your customers is just not the best way to spend your day. And having good tools, having good internet, it's always getting better, the tools and the internet, so having online meetings is just getting bigger, and Seidat as a tool is in the front line of that. And as I mentioned, Seidat is quite easy to use in marketing, and this means embedding presentation on a website, sharing them in social media, Facebook, Twitter, for example. You can just post a link there, and in Facebook it will easily add more meat to the bone, if you like to say it like that. And then having the analytics involved, you can follow the path where the customer has ended up. one quick note: if someone is doing marketing at your company and thinking of using Seidat in that, I would highly recommend keeping the presentations short instead of having everything in one, having them in one top line. We're going to go through the matrix in a bit, but keeping it as simple as possible is the best way we have experienced in social media. And any share is without any attachment, any installments or anything required. To view a Seidat presentation from anywhere, you just need an internet connection, and even that doesn't have to be a very good one, so even a not so good one internet connection will usually do. In Seidat you can utilize pretty much all different content options, including videos. Nowadays it's, I think, the most quickly growing content way of delivering and telling your story, and it's only getting bigger, and being able to use them in Seidat so easily is a good thing. Also, websites you can embed in Seidat. Let's say you're in a trade fair, you want to gather some leads from the people who come to your booth. You can have your presentation on your iPad or something and swiping it, and then having your website embedded on the last page where you can gather some leads from the customer directly. Then, depending on what business you do, you might be interested in 360 panoramas, 3D product images, diagrams and charts are pretty much in every business, and this is just the most used content ways. We have tried with so many different kind of things, so feel free to ask if you have something specific in mind, and we might have tried it, or our customers have tried it and we have some experience. One quick technical thing from Seidat is that you have this one presentation which you can use on every device, and what that means, unlike PowerPoint, which is probably what some people use previously to Seidat, or have been thinking of moving from PowerPoint to something more 2019. We don't have to decide when we're starting to create the presentation on what the content area ratio has to be. You can create one Seidat presentation, share it to a phone, use it on the conference room big screen, or go to a movie theater. It doesn't matter. It's the same presentation, and Seidat will always scale up to the screen. So quite easy. You don't have to keep that in mind of what the technology of the screen where you're going to be presenting is. So having a bit of peace of mind is quite nice. And then last thing is that we have this is something we go more in depth in the future in this webinar, but we have an overview where you can easily, when you're sharing a link, you can be in the left side view where you can see the whole presentation yourself. You can add presenter notes, have the clock and so on, and then what the recipient sees is the one slide. So it's quite easy to be in different kind of presentation situations, no matter if you're at the customers or at home or at the office doing online the presenting. That was a quick introduction to Seidat. Like I said before, please feel free to post any questions in the chat. We're gonna answer them either directly or at the end of the webinar. Then we can go a bit further in the different presentation structures, and this is something that some of you might have noticed if you've been using Seidat, is that we have this two-dimensional matrix structure you can use in Seidat, and that creates good possibilities for different kind of use cases. And what I mean by this is, if we look, for example, the sales presentation here, is that on the top top level here, we have what we call elevator pitch, which is the most core thing you're gonna at least go through in the meeting or in the presentation itself, and then you can build up the presentation below by adding slides on one topic. These can be topics, or you can use different kind of methods of building the presentation, but typically you have some sort of step one here, what you have before the meeting. It might be that the customer doesn't know anything about you, or you've been working with them or for them for years, and then you have some sort of goal in mind, and what you want to build is in between a good structure to the presentation and the meeting in general. And having all these steps here, we found that it doesn't matter that much of what you sell, where you sell it. These topics that we have here don't suit for everyone, but they're good starting point for creating your first sales presentation in Seidat, and just building up as you go the story of the meeting. We have another question. I've tested a live presentation on my phone. Perhaps the problem is with my phone, but how am I able to go to the next slide? I've tried swiping left, right, up and down, but nothing moves. Thanks. I'm gonna answer that a bit later when we go through the presenting situations a bit more further in depth, but that's a good question. But yeah, let's go through that a bit later. But back to the structures, we have this, the whole presentation I'm showing here. We're gonna be sending this at the end of the webinar to each attendee, so you can check these more in depth from there, or you can see these structures, which are different use cases: group presentation, company presentation, product presentation, and so on. You can see them from our support side as well. Any questions regarding of these structures? Are these quite clear concept to all of you there? Post questions if you have any. But now let's move a bit further, more in depth into creating and editing your presentations. Like I said in the start of the webinar, feel free to do as we speak in your team, or test out the different things if you're that kind of learner, but you can also just watch what I do. When you log in to Seidat, you come on dashboard, and that's a place where you can start creating your presentation. And from the top of the screen, we have only a small print screen on here, but you can start by creating your presentations from the scratch by pressing create presentation, or you can import your PowerPoints or ODP files straight from your computer. This will make it more quicker to get you going, and if you have good material in PowerPoint, you can start using that from the get-go. And if you're a subscription customer, you can import the PowerPoints as elements, which means that everything is editable in the presentation. So all the text, images, everything you can remove them, move them around, add stuff, remove stuff, and so on from the page. A few things to mention from importing PowerPoints is that we have few different techniques or technologies behind these tools, and there are a few things to keep in mind. One is that if you have used background images in PowerPoint, they will be background images in Seidat, but if you only have them on the page like you normally do in PowerPoint, it might not be, our system might not understand that it's a background image. It's not a big deal, you can change it afterwards. Second thing is that every slide will be on the top row, so you might have to do the structure a bit differently in Seidat. And third thing is if you have any fonts that are not part of the regular PowerPoint catalog, you want to embed them so they are more similar in Seidat, because otherwise it's gonna, our system when it imports is gonna transfer them to the closest regular font from PowerPoint. So feel free to test out the PowerPoint import, and this again depends if you can upload them in Elements if you're a paying subscription customer. Otherwise, you're always feel free to welcome to test them as images. The other method is creating a new presentation from the scratch. And what this means that you have a presentation where you only have one page at the start, but you can start creating material from scratch, or bring pages from different presentation if you have them ready. When you click create presentation, you get this dialog where you can change the name, add tags to the theme, or limit the presentation access, or grant to someone that doesn't have the editor access in the team. And the third method of getting or creating more presentation is to copy an existing presentation, which is the most common type of getting a new material, is to utilize the previous one and just copying it and using that. You get the same kind of dialog here where you can change the name, the tags that are in the previous presentation are going to be copied here, and same with the custom theme and user access things, they're going to be copied as well. So these are the three methods of starting to create the presentation. Naming presentations and slides is easy. You just double click the window here and you can change the name at any time. Then when you go from, let's go back one page, when you go from this button here, which, well, this is print screen so it doesn't show the tooltip, but it says edit presentation. When you go to the edit presentation mode, you can add and duplicate pages from this plus icon. You can add pages, or you can press from three dots here on top. They're not visible in this print screen, but you can copy a page and then paste the page in the matrix. So you can utilize the same pages. You can also add from slide bank. So when you open the presentation in editing mode, you can press from add from slide bank, and on the right side of the page you will see all your presentations from your team and all the smart slides that are in the team, and you can use any page from any presentation that is not hidden from you, or any smart slide in the team. So this is quite easy to start adding pages from there and creating the presentation from piecing out material from previous material. So again, few ways to start creating presentation. If you copy a presentation, there's already those pages. You can create new ones from clicking the plus icon here, or copy pasting from clicking the right top corner of the page and then pasting it, pressing from the button below the arrow here, or adding from slide bank from anywhere in the Seidat presentations. And yeah, like I mentioned before, naming presentation is easy, but naming pages goes the same way. So you just double click the name here and it will allow you to change the name. It is good thing to name the pages according what the content is. So when you start using them in smart slides and in other presentation, it's easier to find them if they're labeled correctly. Moving slides also in the presentation editing mode is quite easy. There's two methods, either moving one page at a time from the arrow, which is visible when you have the mouse on top here, and you can drag and drop them anywhere, or moving the whole column from pressing from the top and dragging and releasing when you're happy with where the pages are. So two ways to move pages from one place to another. And then another thing is you might have used hyperlinks in other presentations before. In Seidat it's quite easy. We use the term hotspots, and from pressing from the left side where you have seen these icons before, from the hand that pushes down, you can access the slide hotspot menu where you can add to any element on the page, or as a free area hotspot from under the arrow, you can add to any page or any element on the page. Sorry, you can add internal links, which is go to slide, or if you click from here, external links, which might be like in this case Facebook links, or email links, or links to your website, or it doesn't matter. When you copy a page later, they're gonna be copied as well. So that's a good way to make it more intuitive for the recipient to navigate through the presentation. If they click the videos, they go to videos. And then one thing that is quite good, that when you add people to the team, you might want to restrict the access to a certain presentation for someone or for the whole team. These use cases might be that you have the board meeting presentation, which might include something that is not for everyone to see, so you can limit the access to hidden. Or if you just have presentations that you don't want the salespeople, for example, messing about, you might limit their access to presenting or viewing only, and then you can be in charge of the editing, or you can add your project group in a way to include certain people in the team. Editing these presentation accesses from the dashboard, which you can access from the house icon on top page, and pressing from the presentation you want to limit from these person icons on the right side of the dialog. So editing these presentation access levels is a good way to have the team working in a way you want them to. Okay. Again, please feel free to ask questions, but let's go through the slide editor more in depth. The first thing I want to mention is that to make your life a bit easier, the normal keyboard shortcuts work in Seidat in the same way as they work in pretty much every app. So starting to use them and having them on under your use makes editing much quicker. But yeah, you can find them here later if you need to refer back to those. Seidat slide editor is quite simple view. You don't have too much going in it, and that is a good thing in my opinion. You can access any page from pressing the pen icon on top of the presentation editing matrix view, which you can access from here. And when you want to edit this page, for example, all the tools that you might need to use are on the left bar here. Then when you have one tool active, it will be visible. All the different tools inside the tool you can use are on top, and then properties are on the right side of the page, which help you to create the page. If we start from the top, adding text is from the A button or the A icon, and you get this text box here, which you can start typing in immediately. One thing to keep in mind is that in Seidat we have restricted the brand settings to only brand managers, and they can add the brand settings from the dashboard from the top where it says brand, and there's the diamond icon. And different from PowerPoint, for example, is that you set certain fonts and certain colors to your team, and everyone has to use those fonts. So usually you set up those fonts in advance, and they are from the brand manual from your company. And then in this case, the title is blue, and if we want to add the title, we have no other options than use the blue title if that's in our brand guidelines. But if we have some others, they should be added to the brand settings also. But other than that, it's pretty standard, the text editing options you have here. Then let's jump from the adding text to adding shapes. And shapes are, you can use them in a few different ways. The first one is to add graphical elements, like here, the red or the pink bar is a shape. It's a square shape that has been transformed into a thin line, and then the color has been edited from here. You can also create from shapes buttons to the page, which you can add hotspots, which we went through a bit earlier, and that will allow you to have the viewer of the presentation to go to your website, for example, or to another page. So I would add a shape, and on top of that a text, read more, or something like that. Shapes can also be used on top of the whole page to darken or lighten the background image. If you have a background image like this and you're 100% sure that you want to use white text on this background, you might want to add a big enough shape on top of the whole screen to make the background image a bit more darker, to be able to use the wider text, for example, or the opposite. You can change the color and the opaqueness from here, from the top of any shape. And here is the color editor more in depth. So here you have the slider, which allows you to change the opaqueness, and here you have the color palette of your team. So these are the colors that are set from the brand settings that you can also access from here if you're the brand manager in your team. Then properties on the right side of the page. If we go one page back, you can see them here on the right side, but a bit more in depth, you can see them here. You have few things in the properties. You have the editor settings, which help you to customize your Seidat editing experience in a way you want. You can have the elements aligning into each other by pressing the snap to elements, or removing that and adding the snap to grid, which helps you to have the elements located on the page based on the grid. Also the object transform, if you have one object on the page, shape, image, whatever, if you have that active, you can press from here and edit the element from here as well. You can add skew and rotation to the element. Also, you have the element stack. Now it's in two pieces, but usually this is under these object transform things. You can move any shape or text element above or below any other element, and this is quite the same as in send forward, send backwards in PowerPoint or in Photoshop if you've been using that before. You can also lock elements. If you have a big element on top or at the back of the page, you can lock that in place so it's not always selecting when you don't want it to. So these you can do it from the properties, so having that open is a good thing. Also, one thing we jumped over is these two buttons that help you add any web pages, videos, 3D images, what we went through earlier, you can add them to the iframe, or adding videos quite easily from here is one good way to add videos from YouTube or from Vimeo or any other service like that. One thing to keep in mind when you want to add anything to the presentation is to have it online. So people ask us often, can we embed Excels, for example, from Microsoft Excel? And the answer is yes and no. No, in a way, in a use case where you have it on your computer, because we need to have it online, because if you share it with someone else on the other side of the world, you have to have it online. And yes, in a case where it's online in a SharePoint or another service like that, you can have PDFs or anything similar embedded in the page. We have a question that can you add colors with RGB codes, or do you need hex code? That is a good question. Let's go back 1 or 2 steps. There is the possibility to add hex code. Now I have to actually check and get back to you that can you add RGB colors. I think you can't, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think usually if we get the colors in RGB or in any other format, it's quite easy to just Google the color code and it will give you the hex code and other type of codes, and you can add them to the brand settings, or if you just need them on this specific page, just add them here and you'll get the specific color you need. So it's not possible at the moment. But yeah, that's a good question from one of the viewers. One thing Seidat does differently from PowerPoint, or at least a lot of people don't use the background image in PowerPoint. So in Seidat, I highly recommend that everyone uses either the background image or the background color for 2 specific reasons. If you have a presentation that might look okay here, like the background image is filling the screen that I have here, but if I share it to someone's phone, the background image has to scale for the phone screen. The content area remains the same ratio, but the whole screen ratio is different. So having the images as a background image always fills the whole screen, no matter if it's a super wide screen like 21:9 ratio or a phone screen which is held upright. Of course, Seidat will suggest to the viewer that you should rotate your phone, which is quite similar ratio to what you have here. But in case the viewer doesn't do that, it's highly recommended that you always add the images you want on the background as a background image. We jump over this image adding button here, and this allows you to add any image on the screen or on the content area, being logos, images, icons, graphs on print screen or whatever. You can add any type of image there. Supported formats are JPG, how do you pronounce it? PNG, GIFs, SVGs, and maybe some other, but those are the most used ones. Let's go to Smart Slides now. Again, if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat and I'll answer them. And I'll get back to one of the questions from earlier at the end of the presentation here. Smart Slides is one of the best features in Seidat, and I think everyone, no matter what the use case is, if they use Seidat as a personal tool, use Smart Slides. If you use Seidat in a 100-person sales team, use Smart Slides. It's always good to use them. And what Smart Slides means is that they're in a way connected pages. And in our team, for example, we have some pages which are used in pretty much every presentation that we have. And by having these smart slides in use, these linked pages, we can edit this page if we have some need for that, and it will automatically change to every presentation where the page is used. And good use cases might be that we have company figures, sales prices, contact information, or anything like that, and we want to have in every presentation we have, no matter if it's been created a year ago, used 2 years ago, or it's gonna be used in the next few weeks, having the peace of mind that everything is updated, and smart slides can help you achieve that. Of course, someone still has to update the stuff. Seidat is not yet at that level that it can automatically update it, but just updating it once in one place is much easier than updating it to every place in the app. And when you want to edit smart slides, we didn't go through today the user levels, but you can check them on the dashboard, and pressing the users, you can define the user level for each user individually, and having people as a smart slide editor allows them to edit these smart slides. If you're just a normal editor, you're not able to edit the smart slide at all. You can of course use them in your presentation. You can unlink them if you need to change it for one presentation, but you don't want to change it for everything else. But having only few people editing smart slide is a good way of having those key pages under more control. When you want to edit a smart slide, it doesn't matter if you do it in the presentation where the smart slide is used, or in the smart slide bank, which can be accessed from the dashboard again. It will ask you if you want to edit this, or if not. If you choose to edit it, once you press save, it will automatically update every presentation where the page is being used. Editing the page is no different from editing any other page. It will only say it from here and in the dialog before you start editing. If you have in presentation you have a smart slide, and for some reason, if you're an editor and you cannot edit it, or for any other use case, you might want to detach the smart slide, which means that you press from 3 dots on the top corner here, and then selecting from the menu detach from smart slide, and then the linking is gone. The smart slide will stay in a team, and if it's been used in somewhere else, it will stay as a smart slide, but it will only remove it from the certain presentation. Also, if you have a normal page which doesn't have the smart slide icon on top, you can make any page a smart slide by clicking the 3 dots and pressing the make smart slide. And this is only possible if you're the smart slide editor, so again, other people cannot make smart slides or edit them. Then another thing, if you get into a situation where you have, for example, detached a smart slide and then made the smart slide again from the same page, or in some other use cases you might have pretty much the same page or even the identical page created in the team, you might want to merge them into one page. So you select them from Smart Slide Bank, and then pressing from merge and selecting which one to keep and pressing merge, and the other page will be removed, and the other one will take the place of the previous one. And also in the Smart Slide Bank, which is again accessed from here, you can see where in your team the Smart Slide is being used in. This page, which I've opened here, is used in 3 presentations. This is in 2 presentations, but if you have 200 presentation where you always have the key figure page, it will list them all here. Okay, that's the editing stuff done. Like with any tool, if you haven't used Seidat a lot, it takes few test runs, few times to mess about with Seidat to get you familiar with all the tools we have. And if you hit a roadblock at any time, check our support page. Contact us directly if you have any more trickier questions which are not answered in the support page, and I will show you where you can find the support page at the end, but it's support.seidat.com, so quite easy to find, and you can find that on the top right corner of the app. But yeah, let's go through presenting a few different presentation situations, and then creating the links and sharing Seidat presentation to everyone. When you access any presentation in the play mode, you go from the dashboard, you select what presentation you want to present, and click the play button from the image of the presentation. It will get you to the front page of the presentation, and the view you get is pretty much this. On the top left corner you have Seidat logo, which helps you to get back to dashboard. So if you press the Seidat logo, it will, if you're an editor, you can see these editing things, and then you can see the name and the name of the page and the dashboard button here, but you can collapse that so it's not in the way. And also if you press the map, which you have here, which some of you might have noticed, you have few tools when you're presenting, you can press them. You have the toggle full screen and overview. These are the most used ones, and full screen will get you rid of the whole address bar here, make the presenting situation more pleasing when you don't have that in the way. It will only show you the presentation in the full screen. Overview is the view where you can see the whole presentation that you have gone through. You can see your notes and the page you're currently viewing, and that can be accessed either from pressing from the map and from toggle overview, or pressing O button on your keyboard. The overview is much more useful in presenting situations where you're using the Seidat link, for example. If the viewer is on the other side of the world or other side of the room, and you're sharing the link to them and they can access it from their own devices, but let's go into that a bit further. Full screen, like I said before, is always recommended, and access it from here or by pressing F button. If you're using Internet Explorer, which personally I don't recommend, I use Google Chrome, but you can use any other major browser, they're all supported. But anyways, if you're using IE, pressing F11 will get you to the full screen. F doesn't do you a thing. Then the overview again, pressing the O button will get you to this mode here. Then sharing and different presenting situations might be that you might want to use the Seidat link, which you can send to anyone, or Seidat live link. They're both links, and I will show you in a bit how they look. But Seidat link can be used in situations where the recipient navigates the presentation. These situations might include sending offers, setting product information, presentations, anything that you might want to share to the viewer. These might be situations where you have used PDF before, but would say that you only need to create the one link and send that in email with text, in WhatsApp or whatever. Any update you do to any presentation will happen in real time, even with the link or the live link. So if you send a presentation today with prices and everything, and you edit it a year from now, it will update those presentations as well if you've been using Smart Slides, or if you go to edit that presentation only. You can remove any links at any time. This removes the use of the link, so the recipient cannot go to that presentation anymore. It adds a layer of security again. If you compare it to PDF, where once you send it, it's gone. It's no way of getting it back. But by removing the link, at least you can block any future access to the presentation. Then the Seidat Live is where presenter navigates the presentation, and this is useful for any situation. Sales situation might include that you're in the other side of the world, other side of the room, and you might forget your laptop at home, so you send the link to the person on the other side of the room, and they open it with their device, and then you can use your phone to navigate the presentation. You can present from anywhere. Asterisk in here is that you need an internet connection, and the recipient needs an internet connection, but again, even a slow one will do, since Seidat doesn't require continuous connection. It only, once the presentation has been open, and it will quickly, usually in a few seconds, it will download it to the short-term memory of the browser. You only need an internet connection when you change the page. It will send the signal to the recipient, and it will change the page on their end. And it's useful in large events. We've been in few larger events having all presentation run through Seidat, and having the speaker, the keynote speaker on the stage, changing the page will, if they're using live link, it will change every recipient that they might have. And in these events that we've been, everyone has their phone. They can check the presentation from there or from the jumbo screen on top of the venue. So different methods, different use cases, but Seidat Live is the most versatile way of sharing any presentation. It can be used on spot to another side of the world and in larger events and so on. Sharing the link is you access from the dashboard. Again, pressing the house icon will get you there, and pressing from the share presentation button, or from the left, if you've been already editing or playing the presentation, you can press from here as well. Creating Seidat link, you can create as many as you want in one presentation, or just use the one for everyone. You can add internal notes here, and these are not shown to the receiver, but it's easier for you to distinguish which ones are sent to who or what email campaign or so on. From here, this print screen is, it doesn't include the latest feature that we got like a week ago, is that nowadays we have also direct share, which allows you to securely send any presentation to anyone with the email address that you have. If they have Seidat account previously, they can see all the directly shared presentation on the dashboard. There is on the right side there is a shared with me button. If they don't have previously accessed Seidat with that email, they will be asked to create a password, and then they can see all the presentations in the future under that account. But yeah, that doesn't allow them to send it forward. With Seidat link, it's possible if you send your offer to the CEO and he wants to send it to any CXO or anyone in their team, they can resend the link, so there is no way of controlling that, which might be good, which might be bad. But depending on the situations, you might want to reconsider using direct share if you want to share to a specific user. Then creating Seidat Live is the same thing. You can create many links to one presentation. Using one link is one session, so if you have multiple people using the same presentation in the live situation, you want to create different links to anyone in that team. Also, you can print the presentation as PDF and later print it on paper if you want, or export the presentation if you want to present in any situation. It might be on an airplane or somewhere where you don't have an internet. You might want to download it to your computer. You need to unpack the zip file, and once you've done that, you're good to go. It will work like any other Seidat presentation, so it will open in browser, but it will be hosted from your computer rather than from our servers. So those are the few things to keep in mind. Starting Seidat live, you can press either from Start Live or from the link itself. If you have a phone or a tablet, you might want to use that for opening the presentation on your phone as well. If you have it at hand, you can, if you're logged in, and by using the same link you use on your computer, which you might connect to the big screen on the meeting room, you might be able to, or you're able to navigate the presentation with scrolling on your phone through your phone. And the question we got earlier, that someone had tested live presentation on their phone. If they only open the link and they're not logged in, the recipient is not able, or even if it's the same person, if they're not logged into the team, you're not able to scroll it. So the idea is that I can send to you guys a link, and since you're not in Seidat team, I'm the only one having the possibility to navigate. If I log in with my phone, I'm able to navigate. If you log into Seidat team, you're able to navigate, but in other cases you're not. And I think that's the problem the user has been having, that they're not logged in with the device they're trying to change the page. But if this is not the case, feel free to send me emails at the end of this training webinar, and we'll look into the issue. But previously we haven't had any issues with the Seidat Live. So I highly think it's the logging issue. Okay, I've been talking non-stop for pretty much an hour. Now it's your time. We have a few minutes left. Oops, the camera is shaking now. My apologies. Any questions regarding Seidat, regarding presentations in general? I'm more than happy to answer them. In the meantime, I can mention that our support page can be found at support.seidat.com, and on the support page we have everything you need to use Seidat efficiently. We've been trying to include every use case, everything from creating the presentation to sharing, best practices and everything in there. You can start by, if you want to print it as PDF, for example, just type in the search bar PDF and you're good to go. Got an answer from the user that it worked after they logged in. So yeah, just remember to log in with the device you're using and you want to present. Otherwise, you're just a viewer and not being able to the Seidat Live, you're not able to change the page. With Seidat link, it's a different thing. Anyone with the link can freely go through the presentation. Okay, if I'm still waiting for questions if you have any. In the meantime, I'm happy to show few of our clients. These are some of our international clients that are well known across the world. If you don't see your company on this list, let us know and we can add some of your logos here to get you some what is it? I don't know, publicity, I guess. But yeah, my name is Joona. I've been helping you with any Seidat issues you've been having, or getting you some new new knowledge, and like I said, feel free to ask us after the webinar if you want, or if you have any questions or feedback. Like I said in the start of the presentation, we'll be sending you a quick survey. I promise it's gonna only take you 2 minutes tops to answer, and I'm more than happy to receive any feedback, positive, negative, and it will help me, it will help Seidat to provide better webinars and better services in general for our clients in the future. So at the end, it's you guys who are gonna benefit from answering those surveys. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and see you guys next time. Thank you.